Hey everyone, welcome to the FBB podcast and YouTube channel, and it's Justin Devonshire here. Today I've got a special guest. It's Kieran Ellis, who is a fitness professional and gym owner, and he's going to be doing probably most of the talking today. And I thought he's had some great success in the last year of growing his business in all areas. I've had the pleasure of working with him out here in Cyprus and the UK, and I thought it would be really valuable for you guys to learn and get perspective from somebody else who's actually doing it, and just see what you can learn from this, or be inspired or educated, whatever it might be. So Kieran, thanks for coming on first of all.
No worries, thanks for having me.
So do you want to just first of all briefly tell the listeners a bit about yourself and your gym, and what it is you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So we run ladies only team training at the moment, and we're based in a really rural location. So we're in a town of just under 6,000 people in rural Somerset, and yeah, we operate like I say, a large training group model. We do 3 sessions a week, and we offer, well, I'm sure a lot of other professionals offer, like lots of the fitness, the nutrition, the accountability, some mindset coaching. And we try and take ladies, we try and move away from the whole kind of just weight loss specific products, and try and move it more to like a lifestyle development service. That's kind of what we offer. And yeah, we run a 6-week bootcamp model, which then runs into a 6 or 12 month kind of commitment at the end, depending on where they are and where they want to end up.
Great. Okay. And do you remember the kind of the rough time frame where you were? There was probably a point somewhere where you were going along, you were growing the business, doing everything, and then at some point you made a change and started to go on a more upwards trajectory, because you've been able, as we'll hear, you've been able to basically double your business in 12 months. Is there a certain time you can remember that was kind of just before the turning point, and what was happening at that point? What kind of challenges were there, or what did things look like at that time?
Well, we'd had no real problem in the past generating things like leads, for example. We found quite easy to generate. We found actually that we had no mechanism. We were in this space where it was like Christmas. Leads were fantastic, but actually they were coming in, and we had no way of tracking them. We had no way of keeping them, or working out how to keep them, and a system for doing that. And it was at that point where I was like, well, we've basically got a leaky bucket here. It's great having all these people come in. And it must have been, it was pretty much, it was about,
so do you mean converting them was a problem, or retaining clients was a problem?
No, neither of them as such was a problem, but we didn't have a set way of doing things that we knew was reasonably predictable. It was kind of like, oh, here's our offer, here's, and we made it like, looking back on it now, we made it at the wrong time to them, and people would stay or they'd go, and we had no way of kind of following up with them or anything like that. It was like a hobby, essentially. That we were enjoying the income, but there was no real business behind it.
So you need to it was more getting the systems and operations in place.
Yeah, because it just makes everything so much easier. Like, you can see it now.
And I think a lot of fit pros are in that position and understand it. But from your perspective now, having those systems in place, how do you think? I think a lot of fit pros, they know they need systems the same way we know we need to eat vegetables. And I always call systems like the vegetables of business. We know we need them, but we just have a hard time doing them. And it's not that it's complicated, but I think when anyone doesn't do anything, like when a client doesn't eat the nutrition, it just means to me, it's not overcomplicated, you're not overwhelmed. It just means it's not a priority for you, which means you don't yet fully believe in the power of it, which means you don't yet understand the benefits or the consequences of not doing it. I think it's very simple like that. So for all the fit pros out there, gym owners who are in that position, things are going well, like you, they've got a good product, marketing is doing fine, but they just don't have these systems in, and they're not really taking it seriously yet. They're putting it off and putting it off. What would you say now, 12 months later, really what would have been the consequences really of not putting those systems in, or what did they give to you that maybe you didn't realize, you didn't expect? How did the
Okay.
systems change your business and allow you to get to the next level is what I'm asking.
I think first of all, it's pretty clear to me that we'd be done right as of now. We wouldn't have made it through the last 3 months for certain. Just in terms of the financial systems that you helped us put in place, we had enough available cash to be able to ride through that. We wouldn't have had that. Looking back on that straight away, but I think just going back to where I was at the start and thinking about what you were just saying, it was very deceptive for me because I saw money in the bank coming in fairly consistently. It was very easy for me just to say, well, do you know what? We're obviously doing fine. Where actually that revenue at the start, when I started putting the financial structures in place, I was like, okay, crap, this is not enough. We need to be doing, we need X number of more people, and so it just gives you, it gave me a real clarity of, right, this is exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it, and for how long it needs to be done to execute this certain result. And I think that clarity is probably the main thing for me, because it's like you said, the systems aren't complicated, but it's just seeing the cash in the bank every month just makes it look like you don't need them.
So the clarity, that gives you focus, that stops you chasing shiny objects.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then you have, like with your clients' work, when they have focus on one plan, they get the results. I guess it's a streamlined thing. So you've been through our program, so that we break systems down more specifically into 3 main systems or overarching systems. We have our cash flow financial system that you mentioned. We have our operating systems, which is team facing, or what you and the team need to be doing, and your KPIs to meet those financial goals. And then we have the client fulfillment systems, which is everything to do with how we attract, convert, and retain and speak with a customer over the lifetime with us. So we have the financial system, operating systems, and client fulfillment systems. If we just spend a couple of minutes going into each of those and give a bit more clarity to the Fit Pros listening, let's start with the financial system. So for you, what did you do what problems were you facing financially with the financial lack of systems? What did you do to make things better with that?
So firstly, I wasn't paying myself enough by a long way, which meant that even though I was paying myself enough to get by, there was still that background anxiety of I've got to make the next paycheck. Do you know what I mean? There was that kind of thing, which within the first month, that was gone straight away, because I could see how I could allocate enough money to do that. And secondly, I had one account for all my stuff. Money comes in every month. It was growing. Every month my expenses were growing to match it. In exactly the same way that when you get a higher salary at a job, you tend to spend more. You go out and more for more dinners and all that kind of stuff. That's what happened with the business. As money was coming in each month, it was going up. Expenses were going up to match it. And pretty quickly, within about 6 weeks of being on the program, we nipped that in the bud. And like I say, at the moment we've got 6 months operating cash in the bank if we need it, which is a great place to be.
Yeah, perfect. And your next goal is going to be get to 12 now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Keep moving the goalposts for you, and that's really like that point. I've said this as well. I think I've seen so many gyms close for good in the last few months. People with 6, 7, 8 locations closing. And it's literally, one lesson on that financial management could have literally saved their business. I think. I don't think that's not me saying that I'm a savior. It's just that information, how to manage finances, which we're never taught. It's amongst all this marketing and sales stuff out there. But so why that's relevant for the listeners who may not be aware, we're talking about operating cash here, which means the amount of money that your business has in surplus, not you, not in your account, but what the cash the business has, equivalent to the amount it would take to pay all the expenses, including paying you as an employee every month. So if your business breaks even at 10K a month, which means that's all your costs, your rent, paying you a couple of thousand, paying your team, paying your taxes. If that cost £10,000 a month before profit, then you would need, then 1 month of operating capital, you'd need £10,000. And the reality is 90% of business owners, and by extension, fitness professionals, don't have more than 1 month of operating cash spare in the bank account, which means one bad month can literally knock them out. We've just had 3, maybe going on 4 potentially bad months in the UK, especially. So this is why so many gyms and PTs are just going under right now, selling, liquidating, or walking away, because they just didn't have, the business just did not have any oxygen left in the tank. And the minute they got strangled, they couldn't even survive for 4 minutes, right? Because it had no oxygen. So what Kieran's talking about there is what Kieran did is he worked hard then to put 6 months of operating capital in the bank, which means if Kieran made no money tomorrow, if every single customer quit paying him and he still had to pay himself a salary, his team, his rent, keep paying for marketing to get everything back on track, he could literally go for 6 months without actually losing money. And the business would have 6 months buffer zone to get back on track, figure things out. And that's if no revenue is coming in, not no new additional revenue, if no money, if the plug was pulled completely. So we're really planning here for real emergencies. If you've managed to maintain 50% of your recurring revenue through this lockdown, then of course, your cash flow would last you for 3 months, right? So we suggest you aim to put a minimum of 3 months cash flow aside, know what your business costs to run, and put 3x that number. And that just means, FitPros say, well, how do I get that money? It means you've got to hustle a bit harder, and you've got to make more money than you think you need. You're making enough just to get by this month, but then you're hitting reset and starting the survival game next month all over again. And you want to get away from that trap, which gives you that anxiety and that financial stress. Even if you're paying yourself, you're squeezing the business for you to get paid. And it's a me or the business kind of mentality. So you want to get paid a couple of £1,000s a month, and you want the business to keep a couple of £1,000s a month. Then you're feeding both. And what you did for that, then you mentioned was you mentioned you had one solid bank account before,
yeah.
And what you did then was open up some separate accounts. Do you want to just quickly
explain
a little bit about why that works and what you did exactly?
Yeah, well, I think is it Parkinson's law, isn't it? That you use up the resources you have available to you, or at least that you think you do. So it's essentially hiding the snacks. Yeah, I guess
the fridge, they get eaten. Yeah,
exactly. So we just so each month we have a certain percentage of money that we know goes to various different places. And we've just paid our tax for the end of year and our VAT, and we had an extra 30% in the accounts that was available to pay that. It was just there wasn't even a thought. Whereas in the first year it's like
aside month on month, so when the bill came.
Yeah, every month.
Here it is, ready for you, Mr. Taxman. Here you go.
Yeah, and it's helped us with our pricing. It showed us that we needed to increase our prices. So we increased our prices by a third because we knew that actually per client we needed, for every £100 that comes in, we were putting a certain percentage of that to various different accounts. So we knew actually, when I looked at it first of all, I thought, oh, we're making £100 a client, brilliant. Well, actually, we're not. We're making about 60 or something, and that changes everything, because obviously that takes you from thinking you've got £1,000 in the bank to actually you've got £600, and that's a totally different way of looking at things. And what I found really useful was, because my expenses, I was ClickFunnels this, Active Campaign that, oh, this looks cool, let's do that. All these softwares that just looked cool, and I thought, well, I have got the money for them, let's add them. Which added absolutely no value to my business. I polled my clients about 3 months after implementing one of them, and they'd never heard of the software, even though I'd sent them an email, I'd got them to sign up, and they couldn't remember it. So it was just like, once I realized actually, rather than having £5,000 in my account, I had 480 quid for my expenses left. You've got to make some big decisions about what you need and what you don't. And I think when you really look at it, when you really strip, it's exactly the same as working with clients, isn't it? When they really strip it back, strength training, cardio training, sleep well, eat vegetables, stay hydrated. like protein. That's pretty much it, and everything else is crap, isn't it? Really, you know. And the same with money.
Remedy
Yeah,
those things, yeah. Train, eat, sleep, recover.
yeah.
So I think the big takeaway there is Fit Pros are notorious for making £100 and then spending £100 when 15 to 20 pounds of that doesn't belong to them; it belongs to the government, and they forget that. If the business makes £100, you didn't make £100, right? You walk away with you have 80 before your business costs, and so it's £100 is quickly 60. But if you spent that 100, went out as soon as it came in. You're in trouble. Cool. The next thing then is operating systems, which is helping you first of all understand what is your role, what are your day-to-day tasks. Now you have real financial goals in place. That turns into then what functions or tasks do I need to do, or what does the company need to do each month, week, and day, and so. Did you make any changes on those operating systems, and what did you do, and how did that help you?
I wouldn't say in as such we made changes, as in we didn't have any beforehand. It was very much like, right, what do I feel like doing today? Nothing. I'm going to play some Halo. Also, and it's insidious because I'm there and I've got like 10 grand in the account or whatever. So my mind's saying, well, why are we bothering? That's loads of money. So let's just go and do something else we want to do. And it was just when I really, when you drill down to anything, it's like you can't do just one bit of it. You've got to do all 3 bits or it doesn't work. And so we just kind of really worked out the exact process that we need to do things like, attract our clients and convert them, what we need to do in terms of each day with the content and the client contact and stuff like that. And just how things need to work, like what the financial processes are, what the process is for this and that, and just get everything down so that if something happens, I can say to one of my coaches, here you go, I can't do this for 4 weeks or something. Here's everything. Here's what you need to do. Whereas beforehand, it's one of these where you're fighting fires all the time because you haven't properly put systems in place. No one knows what's going on. And it just saps your time so much more. You've got constant anxiety that no one's doing it right. When if you've got these systems in place, even if they're not doing it perfectly, they're at least following the steps you want them to follow.
What's one major tip or like one really practical thing you could tell another gym studio owner in your position about putting systems in place, or one thing that's really helped you guys the most?
I think and this is probably not going to be something people expect, is getting that emotional separation for yourself, like taking yourself away from the business and realizing that actually, yes, there are certain tasks that people may not be able to do as perfectly as you right now, but actually in terms of the client experience, you notice that more than they do. As long as the end result is in the ballpark of where they want, really, it's just you being pernickety about it. I mean, a case in point, like I brought a coach on fairly quickly. Actually, the first month I was with you guys, and I brought a coach on, and I was just anxious that she wasn't going to do a good enough job, and they weren't going to like her as much. And initially, there was some resistance. There was a few people, who kind of said a few things, but actually now all the compliments we get on sessions are her sessions, not mine.
Yeah, totally. It's one thing I tell people is, there's 2 truths about hiring is when you first bring someone on, they're not going to be as good as you. But second of all, once it becomes their full-time job for 6 months, they will become better than you.
Yeah.
Because you have different jobs to do then. And so, yeah, it's not about finding the perfect people, which is what everyone wants to do is, I want to implement the perfect Facebook ad and the funnel that will just print money. I want to hire the perfect people who will just start making ROI on day 1. And business isn't like, it's not a Lego set. It's not like that. You've got to test and tweak your adverts. You've got to try out systems that may or may not work and adapt them. You've got to bring on people less than perfect and mentor them. And even when you mentor them with the best systems, you know what? You can put all the right systems in place, be the best mentor to them. Guess what? It still takes time of practice to become a good coach. Like it was for us, right? Like we needed our 10,000 hours to get good. and yet we hire someone else and expect them to do it in 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
And
I think just
yeah.
actually what you were saying there, sorry, just kind of reminded me of something. I think when I first signed on with you, I was in the space where it felt like my time was collapsed, or my sense of time was collapsed, and I was seeing a lot of stuff on social media about these people having loads of success, and it's very easy to compare yourself to that and think, oh crap, I can't do that by tomorrow, I can't do that by next week. And I remember when I had my call with JP to kind of get my first kind of consultation call, I guess, he was like, oh, so what's your financial goal? What are your goals? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to get to 10K a month. And he was like, why is that? I just said to him, well, I don't know. I have no idea. But it was just a number that got plucked. And actually, when I look at it, we're pretty close to that now. But for a comfortable life and a comfortable business, I need to be at £7,500 to £8,000 a month. And if I want to stay there, that's fine. I think you're always pushing for the next number.
Yeah, that's the first thing JP is trained to ask you guys. We ask that because they're just arbitrary goals usually that mean nothing. And one thing you're going to experience this year is most likely another transition, which is going to be, you get to that 10, 20K a month mark. I mean, getting to 10 is the biggest hurdle you've overcome so far by putting the systems in place, adapting emotionally, like you said. To accepting the process of, we are going to have to work on staff. We are going to have to take 6 to 12 months to get someone to a good place. You then, going up to 20K a month is going to be just doing more of the same and letting the systems and culture sink in. It's just going to be like, there's nothing you can do to when a wine begins maturing, there's nothing else you can do to speed it up, which is what Fit Pros hate, because they go from like 3K a month, 10K a month in the program, and then like, right, I want to get to 20K a month right now. And it's like, you can't. You got fast results in the beginning, same as fitness, because you were doing like stupid shit before. And you go from stupid shit to then doing basic stuff, you'll get fast results in the beginning, like our clients do. But then to think you're going to get the same double the next month, it's like losing 10 kilos in the first 6 weeks and expecting to lose another 10 kilos every 6 weeks after that. As you get more, going from intermediate to advanced now, the results actually in terms of bank account, the outcome becomes more incremental. And so that it's now about patience is gonna really have to trickle in. And this is the strange part, this kind of low six figures, 10, 20K a month, to kind of up to that 100K a month, going up to that £1 million a year benchmark, which is nothing spectacular. It's nothing like magical. It's just internet marketing number people tend to use for distinction. But when getting to that period now is really where you have to make a new decision and say, right now I've got a very nice lifestyle business, and this is where I got to a few years ago, where we're making 10, 20, 25, 30K a month out of 1 or 2 locations. I had stepped back mostly and my team were doing everything. And I had a lot of time on my hands. And it's actually when I started getting into mentoring and helping other Fit Pros and building the FBB process of, let me just break down what exactly I've done and systemize it for other people to follow. And in the last couple of years, then there's been a new shift where you eventually you either get bored doing that and you want to get more, because you enjoy it for a while, working 3 hours a day, collecting a low 6-figure paycheck each year is nice. But either you'll just get bored of that, or your business now starts getting some momentum because the systems and the culture, if the systems and culture are really good, if they're a bit poor, you might step back in for a couple of days a week, do a bit of heavier work to fix things, then step back out again and just coast at that level. But if your systems and culture is dialed in really well and things start happening quickly, and like you said, you've got more clients coming in, they're getting converted, they're getting trained, they're getting results, referrals are coming in, your coaches want more work, your coaches are asking if they can open a location for you. The finances are there so you can fund that growth. what happens then is your vision starts getting bigger, the momentum is pulling you, and you then make a choice. Do I just want to continue having a lifestyle business, which is fine, or do I want to start building what's known as a performance business, which is generally a business that is categorized by it makes over £1 million a year, it grows by at least 20% for 4 years in a row, and it generally has between 30 and 50 employees or contractors at some point. And this is more like what we call a legacy business. This is when things, and that's where we are right now. Our goal is to have 10 locations by end of this year, 20 by end of next year, probably 100 by the end of 4 years. But within 4 years, we're going to have maybe 100 locations. So this just goes next level. And at that point, you will work a crazy amount of hours. And that's the difference, where you work hard in the beginning, hustling for next to nothing because you're learning. Then you achieve that level of success and you can step back and get a breather for 6 to 12 months. And then you either stay there, which is fine, or you decide we've got something, we've got money in the bank, we've got a great team, we've got clients that validate the product. Let's effing go all in, balls to the wall. And you've got all that financial security in your life now as well. So you're not, financial insecurity, I think, motivates you to do just enough to get your bills covered and then take a breather. But once you have that backup plan and it all becomes about giving and contributing and sharing and impacting the world, then you have like 100 times, 1,000 times more energy. And you'll probably make that transition maybe in 2020, end of this year or 2021. I can see you particularly start to go in that direction. And you look at scaling, maybe licensing agreements, affiliates, franchises, maybe just more of your own locations. It's all possible. And it's a bit of a change because you do have to get back into the business a lot more, not into coaching and training. Like, God, no, I've got people way better than me at that now. But, we have team meetings every single day with my executive team. We're building management and leadership mentorship programs for our employees right now. We're, consulting lawyers on a million different things every day. We're talking to our accountant 4 times a week. What if we do this? What's the implication of this? What are the tax returns on this? You're looking at financial projections. I mean, yesterday we were doing financial projections on 6 locations. We have to know the numbers inside out of 6 different businesses. Most Fit Pros don't know the numbers of one of their gyms. I've got to know the numbers for the next 3 months projected of 6 gyms, and we're expanding with 2 more soon. So it is like an insane amount of work, but you also become so in love with the process because you don't even need the outcome. You're taking, like, you have what you want in life. Your family are okay. You're just obsessed with the process. It's like the same reason we still weight train. Even if you're not looking to be in a photo competition or Mr. Olympia or a strongman competitor, why do you still go to the train? Why do you still train intensely, more intense than most people, when you don't even have a particular goal? It's because you just you've just lost yourself in the process now. And people say, why work so hard? Why bust your ass? Why are you so intense with your workout and nutrition when you're not even competing for anything? And it's like, because this is just what I love to do, right?
Yeah.
So I think that'll be like the next step. That'll be the next step for you, and it's where a lot of people at this level will tend to go to. But if you tend to get, because the mindset trap is Fit Pros get to this level, 10, 20, low 6-figure, maybe they get to work 3-4 hours a day, become a lifestyle entrepreneur, and then they expect though that going to the next level is going to be more of the same. You're not going to have a multiple 7-figure business working 3 hours a day. A lifestyle business at 20K, yes. Double of it, doing more of the same thing will not get you to that level. Same thing that, again, getting into decent shape is different to getting into Mr. Olympia shape. They do very different things than the average person. So, this is my thoughts on that for everyone here, but particularly for you while I've got you on the call.
No, I think it's a really good point, because I've noticed since we've hit these numbers that because the financial incentive, like you say, is no longer there anymore. There's no more financial anxiety. you're just like, well, what else can I worry about? Like, what else is there to drive me forward? But I also think, like you say, it's that from one end, but also exactly what you were saying, it's the knowledge that if you want to go further, this lifestyle that you've started to quite like is not going to be there anymore, or it's going to change again. So you're in that same place, you know, kind of waiting in the elevator at the first floor, ready to go to the second floor. Just kind of can't push the button.
Now, yeah, I mean, it all becomes about serving your team now. Your team become your new clients. For me, like my goal is for all my original team members, you know, to be making 6-figure salaries within 5 years. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you like make a 6-figure salary working for me. Yeah, you won't get that as a part-time gym instructor, but that's because I don't want you to stay in that role. You need to be progressing. We need to get you from an assistant coach to a master coach. And then from there, either you go into marketing and sales, or you go into management, or you go into technical development, and you're the one who writes the programs, chooses the equipment, you know, hires other trainers, and is in charge of the results the clients get, essentially. Or into like regional management when we have multiple locations. Or even then they can buy into the company and get equity shares. And so we're just like, we're trying to build the lifestyle that we've had. We're now trying to give that to our employees and team members, because we know when they have the best lifestyle, and they are then driven by that impact and not by needing to pay for their Netflix bill every month. They're going to put 1,000,000% into the company. Never as much as we would, because we're the owners, but you know, far bigger than all our competitors or most average businesses out there. So that's your connection now, is with your top level team and your coaches, and it's about making their lives, giving them the time, money, freedom, fulfillment they want in life. And again, we're making programs, and we track retention. We're revenue per employee, retention of each employee, results and progress of each employee. These things we track just like we track with the clients now. And you'll see it. The more they grow, the more they are a role model to the clients. If they're growing, the clients are getting results. Or if your team aren't getting results in life, your clients that they talk to won't get results in life either. So yeah, and then finally, just to touch on the final system then is client fulfillment systems leading into that. So, what have been the best things that you've done over the last year that have helped you with either attracting clients, converting them, or delivering a better product and increasing retention overall?
So in terms of attracting them, we haven't changed our process so much, but we now have real clarity on exactly how much we can spend, and we know exactly how to track our marketing. Whereas before it was like, well, I'll throw 150 quid at a Facebook ad, only got one sign up. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, I've lost your audio.
Boosting a post.
Yeah. Which to be honest, ironically, actually, is how the business very first started. Before I had a clue anything, I just boosted a post for £15, got 10 clients, and then we were off and running.
10 clients. That's amazing. And the thing is that's an important note. I'm glad you mentioned that, is because the fact is that's good, because you just followed the principle. You just said, you know what, paid advertising sounds like a good idea. I'll just do it in the shittiest way I can think of to get it done. You didn't stop and go, but what's the perfect image? What should I write first? Justin, what's the first word? Justin, what should the second word be? What should the third word be?
Yeah.
Shall I say this? Shall I say that? What about the page? You were just like, bam, I boosted a post. Oh, oh shit, this works. It's not refined, but you're effective. You just threw the shit at the wall and just did the principle. Like, it's like telling a weight loss client, don't overthink the exercises. Just go to the gym 4 times a week and walk around the effing car park for all I care. Just do something and go home again.
Well,
Once you're in that habit, then we can refine it later and get better results. Yeah.
Exactly. When I think about it now, actually, like we of those 10 clients, we didn't speak to any of them on the phone. I never met any of them before the first session. I didn't have a landing page. I didn't have a website. They just contacted me up the page on social media, and fingers crossed they paid. I managed to set up Stripe, and then they arrived at the wreck. On this. In fact, actually, it was 2 years ago tomorrow. And had I not done that, I would have been stuck in a leisure centre right now, just sat by the desk playing Championship Manager, probably, if I'm honest. So there was that. So knowing the numbers really helped me kind of work out the success of what we were doing. And then one of the key things for us is that we increased the velocity of the money, the speed of us getting our money. So whereas before we had a 6-week period where we'd, get people involved and we'd take them through their 6 weeks, and by the end of it, we then make them an offer to stay. We were making that offer on the first Friday, and we had 15-20% of people who were paying us for 6 to 12 months up front the next Monday. So that turned us from having to wait those 6 weeks to getting that money in a 7-day period.
Good offer, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what do you, and then when you have that cash flow coming in quicker before the challenge has ended, what did you do with that extra cash then? Did you reinvest that into more advertising? Did you put it aside for profit?
So it depends. It depended on what kind of period we were in, because I like your idea of summer and winter periods. So if we were in a summer period for us, then we would reinvest that back into ads. If we were in a winter period, we'd probably put that back in into a growth fund or into profit, and just keep it for when we want to. We'll just look at refining our systems while we're not having to be so busy. So there was that kind of those two things. First of all, the know the numbers for the ads and the making the early offer, and also we kind of realised that we didn't have as such a process for the 6 weeks to progress people through, whereas now we've got a map for our first 6 weeks. We've really worked hard on that, where we know what gets posted, when it gets posted, when to make the offer, when to make the second offer, when to make the third offer, the discount that comes with each offer, because we do offer a slight incentive for early signups, and when, and then what happens when they leave? When do we contact them? What do we say? All that kind of stuff, if they do leave. And then if they stay, what happens then? Which Facebook group do they go in? What kind of, we use a coaching software to deliver some programs to them. Which program do they go in? So it's very much like a conveyor belt. When they come in, we know exactly where they're going to end up, most of the time. Occasionally it doesn't work, but most of the time.
Which I guess, as well as the team all knowing what to do, then it just takes away all that decision fatigue. We know all this stuff in our head, but when you're trying to do it, you can do it with 5 clients, no problem. But when you're dealing with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 clients, you just can't keep that level of, you need to get that stuff automated and for it to be.
Well, this is it. Something we implemented recently, actually. We use Active Campaign, and we've got a 6 and a 12-month email that goes out to our coaches, and basically when a new client enters our 6-month program, for example, we just add them to that list, and then or add their names to the list, and it notifies our coaches every month. Okay, this Anne is at the end of her first month, do this. Anne is at the end of her second month, do this. Anne is renewing in a month, do this. Just gives our coaches a reminder rather than them having to remember everything.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah.
So good. Last thing then, I'll let you get on. I want to be respectful of your time, but last thing then, what are you going to be? I mean, we're coming out of the lockdown situation. When things go back to normal, we've talked enough about lockdown marketing and stuff like that. I mean, FitPro should have a handle on that. We're coming out of it now. So let's assume it's end of July, gyms are, our studios are kind of back kind of to normal. What are your next moves and next steps you're thinking about for the rest of this year and going into 2021?
So we're looking at filling our first location, which we only have about 8 to 10 available client spots for our model in this first location, and filling our second second location, which is at the moment at half capacity, and we've had interest on a third location as well. So we're actually also going to look into some franchising, going to kind of see if we can go down that route, because we had a few fitness professionals from other areas.
Let someone franchise your model?
Possibly, yeah. We're looking into it. Yeah, we're not sure it's the right model for us exactly, but in the right way to go, we're going to at least look into it.
A partnership license agreement to begin with. We're doing a similar thing.
Okay.
A similar thing with a few clients from FBB actually, of kind of joint buying into our business. Essentially, it's not a franchise yet, That will usually happen after a couple of dozen locations to get all the regulations in place. But you know,
Okay.
semantically, it's probably more like a working agreement, buy-in. Yeah, if they're going to come in, they're struggling, and they need your help, system support, guidance. Then essentially they're able to buy into your business, and maybe
Okay.
keep an equity of that. And we can obviously we can have an actual mentoring call and talk about this whenever you want to. But yeah, essentially you want to looking at you're providing a lot to them. If you think they have what it takes to run that location with all your guidance and support, if they're still the right person for it, then you know, yeah, you'd have a new entity set up, which is, you know, Kieran's business location 3 limited, specific for that. And essentially they could buy in to get a minority piece of equity, or, you know, like 40% or lower of that company, depending on how much they want to put into buying. You know, if they're not putting much money in, then of course they don't get much of the equity, and they'll
Okay.
mostly be getting their salary for doing the job. You know, if they're saying, oh, I'll put 10K into it, then maybe they get some of the equity and they get dividend payouts like you all do. So yeah, that's kind of the structure you're looking at and testing out, because you want to test. There's no point in franchising until you've really tested that you can
Yeah,
work
true.
with. Because the difference is, you know, you're not working with homegrown talent anymore who are loyal to you, dedicated to you, live your brand. You're adopting, rather than having your own kids, you're adopting a kid now, if that makes sense. And it can definitely work. It's great for some people, but it might be a little bit bumpy because you have conflicting viewpoints, their culture, their background, their beliefs, their
Yeah.
ego now clashing with yours. And sometimes it can go extremely well if they're humble and discerning enough to say, you know what, you got this locked in, I need to listen to you, and I'd rather take 40% of something than 100% of nothing, which is kind of like what's happening with the partnerships we're forging right now with FitPros. And, you know, or you get too much resistance, right? It's too much hard work, the culture isn't being built in, and they're trying to run their own thing under your name, you know, and that's what you've got to be
Yeah.
very on top of in the early stages. And if you can make that work and prove that, then it's not going to work across the board. It's going to be very dependent on the person you're partnering with, but you'll start to know this person was coachable, is a good long-term partner, this person probably isn't, or we're not sure, stay away. It needs to be exciting for you to work with them, and then you can prove that model slowly a couple more times, you know, whilst just seeing what are the red flags you need to look out for. And, you know, that might take another 6 or 12 months, but then once you've done that, then it's like you're off to the races. And it's like, right, we know we've got a model, we've got the marketing model dialed in and the systems for 1 or 2 locations, but also we've got the operating, and more importantly, you've got not just the structure, but the culture built in around several locations on multiple levels of management that easily, then it's just pouring money on the fire to scale it.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. But we can have a call and talk about that anyway. But yeah, is there anything you wanted to add, or anything else you would want to say to any Fit Pros listening to this who are in that position?
Position where I was when I started, you mean? Is that
Yeah, I
your
mean,
kind of?
who might be want to get where you are right now and just don't know on the marketing, the systems.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think the word systems is a very overwhelming word if you don't understand what it means. You know, when I was, because I'll admit, my business education, you know, it was limited when I started. It was you know, okay, I thought, but actually it's 100 times better now. But I still know I'm, you know, 100 times off where I want to be. But actually, you know, when you first hear, oh, I've got this system for work, and you think it's some kind of magic spell, it's not. Everyone's pretty much saying the same thing, just in a different color box. You know, that's in the same way that, you know, the local gym promises results, I promise results. They say they've got a system, I say I've got a system. It's all the same system, really. You know, there's nothing new out here. But I think it's getting it simplified in your head, and then just realizing actually that the systems you've got or the systems you need are so simple. Call them processes if you like, rather than systems. I found it easier to do that because, I don't know, systems has this kind of word almost like it's too complicated. You could never understand it, like a massive maths equation. And you know, just if you're in that position, get some help. I mean, my call with JP, to be fair, before I joined with you guys, probably could have helped me grow my business by itself. You know, I could have taken the advice he gave me there and probably used that to get 25% more revenue. So even just doing that is definitely worthwhile. But honestly, I think, you know, this is not a scripted plug, but I would say, like, you know, for what we pay a month to you for a fee, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. I've spent more on, well, I don't like to say what I've spent more on, but do you know what I mean? Like, I've wasted more than that in a month on stupid shit that I've never used. So it's well worth it. And if anyone's thinking about it, they should definitely give it a go.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been fun working in the first year with you, and we've got, like you're seeing now, it's just the beginning. This is just like you're at white belt level now. It's good. It means the basics are in place, and the real fun stuff starts here. The huge challenges, by the way, which now we look at as fun things, not things to be avoided, but things to actually be used for our personal development. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing those insights. I'm sure it's going to be helpful. Anyone listening to this or watching on YouTube, if you have any questions, drop them below, send us a message. We'll be happy to expand on anything that Kieran talked about. And thanks again for coming on and for working with us as well. It's been great working with you. So that's it, guys. Give us a share on social media, drop any comments below, and check out the links below as well. And you'll find more resources and things for free you can use to grow your fitness business. And we'll talk to you very soon.